Peace to the planet Earth. Rob Blackstorm here. In the spirit right now. Shout out to the Hood Mystic, man. Just got through watching one of his videos. I know a lot of y'all that watch me have been on his page, hoodmystic.com. Check out his website. Get some of his merch. Follow him daily. He's very, very, very enlightening with the astrology and with the understanding of what happens during that day, and also additional insight. So it's a lot of things you can learn from as far as spirituality and the occult are concerned. With that said, what I want to go into today is triggers. You know, how we're triggered and how we resonate to triggers, and mainly outside triggers and how they affect our inside. This week has been, well, really the last couple of weeks, you know, really ever since, I want to say last week, or last week and coming into this week. Today's Sunday when I'm recording this, so I'm going to put this out today, but yeah, so starting last week, coming out this week, I've just been receiving a lot of downloads. And when I say downloads, I'm talking about information, but I'm also talking about spirit. You know, a lot of times when we talk about spirit, we talk about spirit from a like spooky place. You know, we speak about spirit like spirit is some old ghost, you know, outside of us, or it's like you know, something that is you know, really imperceptible. So I wanted today demystify spirit, right? And go into what spirit is as well. When we talk about spirit, we're talking about the breath. If you go and look at the etymology of the word spirit and keep going into the etymology of the word spirit, first you're going to get a word, I believe it's pronounced spirer. Don't quote me on that, but you'll go from spirer and then it'll go to breathe or breath. We talk about carbon, right? A lot of melanated people or black people, excuse me, we'll talk about carbon and how carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and electrons, which it does, and relates it to melanin, which they can, because carbon is dark and it's a black element. But what they don't talk about is oxygen, right? The element of oxygen, which has 8 protons, 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons, right? If you're looking at it from an atomic scale or subatomic scale. So with that said, 8 is a sign of infinity, right? The number 8 is really an infinity sign. So if you look at some of the older Rider-Waite tarot decks, you'll see that 8 above the magician's head, right? But the 8 is lateral, right? So the 8 is like this, you know, it's not vertical, where the 8 would be is towards to the side. So when you look at that 8, you're seeing a chain or a loop, what they call also infinity, right? An infinity loop. So energy that moves in our body is coming from air. Our heart is pumping oxygen, and the oxygen helps pump blood and whatever else we need through our body. Now, so when we talk about spirit, we're talking about air. Quite simply, in this basic form, we're talking about the breath, or to breathe, which is why meditation is one of the most important things that you could do. I've talked about that in several videos, but so I'm not getting into that. So our breath is very important. Our spirit is very important. So when I say, remember, you get messages from spirit, messages from nature, messages from the environment, messages from the divine, so to speak, you know, messages from God, if you want to call them messages from God. And with that, these waves of energy that I've been receiving from source is that, you know, there's habits that I need to break. And there's certain habits and certain things that I do that need to be corrected. And seeing that, it's challenging, you know? It's really challenging to look in a mirror and look at yourself and say to yourself, I need to fix me. You know? that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, to know that you need to fix you. And there's parts of you that you have left unattended. Even though I myself, I've done a lot of spiritual work, within myself, with other people. I've done a lot of spiritual work. People who don't know, I am a reader, I am clairvoyant, and I've helped people in various ways, in various capacities. But even still, this spiritual thing is a process, and it's something that never stops. Like, you never stop working on becoming a vessel of the divine, because every day there's new challenges, and working through these challenges is the difficult part. And the thing is, usually I would see these challenges and I would become depressed. And why I was depressed? Because I didn't really want to do the work. And that's being honest with myself, right? I didn't really want to put in the work. I didn't want to wake up every day and meditate. I didn't want to go to bed and meditate. I didn't want to take these teas and these herbs on a regular basis to enhance my spirit. I didn't want to be consistent. I wanted to do other shit at other times. And I didn't want to consistently program my mind, And another thing is, I didn't know how to consistently program my mind. I didn't know the steps. I didn't know the tools. And even now that I have the tools, it's about, okay, how can I be more consistent? And how can I put myself in a better position to master myself? Now, there's a reason for self-mastery, and you have to know the why of why you're doing something. What is the reason for you being spiritual? Or what is the reason for you wanting to be in tune with spirit? And the reason is, there's two reasons: peace and love. You want peace in your life, and you want love. No matter, the two things people talk about the most is, or people that go into magic or go into even prayer or go into religion, is for two main big reasons. And one is money, right? Everybody wants more money. And the other is love. Everybody wants more love. The reason you want more money is because you want to be at peace. You don't want to have to worry about these bills. You want to be able to buy what you want to buy. You want to be able to go where you want to go. So there's a level of comfort, which comfort is peace. So there's a level of comfort in that. And with love, you want a partner to share all that with. That's not going to hurt you. That's not going to mislead you. That's not going to manipulate you. You want that person that will understand you, understand your ways, put up with whatever flaws or faults you have, and rock with you that way. So so you're doing these things, or you want love, and you want these external things, money and love, but really these things come from within. And that's the reason for spirituality. Because the more in tune with you are with your spirit, the more you'll begin to hear things, right? The more that voice in your head that you hear, no matter what, will start to tell you things. It will start to deliver you messages. It will start to give you ideas. It will start to give you viewpoints. It'll start to direct you to things, bring people in your life that will help you and aid you to not only get the money, but get the love that you want. But those are very surface things to follow a spiritual life for money and for love. Because if you get the love of your life, you get the money that you want, then what? Right? Jeff Bezos was just married. Jeff Bezos is worth $138 billion. Not million. Billion. The richest man on earth. He had a beautiful wife that he loved. He had all the money in the world. But if you look at recent things, he's being extorted by National Enquirer. They try to extort him. So even he himself is dealing with something on a spiritual level, because that is stressful. Someone's trying to extort you. What they said is they wanted to put his pictures up, right? Pictures of himself. He has nude selfies out there. Pictures of the girl he was fucking. There's nude selfies out there. So they're like, yo, we're going to leak this unless you apologize and recant your statement. Now, picture of a man, the most powerful man, arguably, in the world as far as finance, right? We know there's people with way more money than Jeff Bezos behind the scenes as far as the Rockefellers and XYZ. But, you know, what they tell us is Jeff Bezos. So, Jeff Bezos, you know, he's being extorted and he's dealing with stress. Now, how does he manage that stress? You know? How does he manage those triggers that occur? How does he deal with the opposition? You know, and so the thing is, even though you have money, and even though you may have the love of your life, seeking those things are still mundane things. They're not really things to edify your spirit or your spirituality, because ultimately spirituality comes down to you, and it comes down to self-love, and it comes down to whatever it is that you love. And whatever it is you love, you will deify. Whatever it is you love, you will worship. You will worship, right? You will pour energy into it, whatever you love. So if you love yourself, you will put energy into learning yourself. You will put energy into learning what triggers you. You will put energy into learning how to problem solve. You will put energy into learning how to find solutions. But if you do not have this love of self, you will love other things that are not part of yourself. And the one thing that we've been taught to love is trauma and drama. Trauma and drama. The most popular shows nowadays are reality shows. We don't have to talk about how dramatic they are. We already know. You know? Violence. You know, there was a rape on Facebook the other day. A rape. You know, and whether it's real or it's not can be debated. But what if it's just planted? What if that's just a planted story? What if that situation did happen and it's planted in the atmosphere to make people react? What if the coolest kid in the jungle, right? The black kid who had the coolest monkey in the jungle shirt. What if that was just planted in the ecosystem of media so that you could be tense and triggered? And all these other things that happen, from R. Kelly to, you know, police shooting a black man, you know, police shooting a white woman. Not to say that these things aren't a reality, but it's the emotion that we attach to these situations that's dangerous. Because once we react emotionally to things that don't even happen to us personally, once we make an emotional investment, it is now ours. Even though it didn't happen to us, it's now ours. And that pain and that trauma is now ours. And once we get that pain and that trauma, now we have cortisol. And cortisol, if you study cortisol is basically what happens during fight or flight. If a lion right now came, or somebody just came to the window right now, you know, knocked on the window while I'm talking, I will be startled. I will be distracted. My fight and flight would kick in. My heart would start to secrete hormones so that I could protect myself, so that I'm alert, so that I'm awake, so that I could run, you know, or fight if I need to, you know, or be neutral if I need to. But I'm going to be in a heightened state of alert. You know, my body's not going to, my mind is not going to be thinking anymore about, you know, what I have to make for dinner. It's about survival at that very moment. So when we see things like rapes on Facebook, or when we see things like, you know, 6 fucking hours of R. Kelly, and when we watch things, you know, police shootings and fight videos and all these things in the news is one of the worst things in the world. I've always said that. And all these things that cause trauma, even in our lives, when we hang around people that are in our cipher that are causing drama and that are causing trauma. If we had a traumatic situation in our lives, you know, all these things are cortisol inducing. Now, the thing is, the thing with the brain and the thing with our brain is our brain doesn't know shit. You know what I'm saying? We are the driver of our brains. We are the driver of our conscious mind. And our conscious mind bleeds into the subconscious. That's the way it works because we're the driver. So the subconscious mind is all, right? The subconscious mind essentially is your spirit. The subconscious mind knows all. When you tap into your subconscious mind, you're tapping into your pineal gland. And, you know, you're getting basically things from other heavenly sources, right? You're getting things from within. You're getting things from your DNA. You're getting things from the universe. You're getting things from the air, right? Because we all breathe the same air. Think about it. You exhale oxygen, it goes out into the universe, it comes back. It goes out into the universe, it comes back. We breathe, we inhale, exhale. So our air, our spirit is everywhere. But everyone's not harnessing their spirit to maximize it, right? There's several ways you can maximize the spirit. One way is through sex magic. You're having sex, you have an intention, especially on the full moons, or after full moons or new moons, you have an intention. You bring that intention into sex or even into masturbation, and you start to manifest your ideas, right? And there's several other ways. But the thing is, how do we even get into these ways or tap into ourselves or tap into our magic if we are always triggered by something that happens? If the media could always feed you drama and always feed you trauma and always feed you pain, how on earth are you going to be able to focus on you and getting yourself together and getting yourself right? Because there's layers to us, right? The first layer is the basic layer where you're dealing with your own insecurities, your own problems, right? You might be scared of dogs. You might be scared of heights. You might have trouble in crowded spaces, things like that. There's certain phobias that I myself, working on as far as public speaking, which I'm doing right now, but maybe going live is one of the things that I'm, not too comfortable with yet. So I'm working on getting comfortable with that. So you have to deal with that first front. There's 3 dimensions of self. So that's yourself, your personal self, your, what you eat, your diet, things you take in for yourself, the way you think, your personal self. Then you have your external self, where you have your, your mortgage, your job, your home, your rent, your kids, your children, things out, things, your car, things outside of yourself. That you have to tend to, right? So that's a separate thing from your inner self, separate thing for your personal insecurities. Your outside, I would say you have your insecurities and your out securities, or your outer securities that you're dealing with as far as, work, finance, home, your relationship, etc. And then you have a third dimension, which is media. And media is the one thing we have to be more vigilant in how we take it in or how we perceive it. And we have to look at media from a disciplined standpoint. If you're really living a spiritual life and you're trying to develop yourself, you're trying to open your third eye, you're trying to enhance your godliness, because the reason we're doing this is, again, for peace and love, to master peace and love. And also so that we can manifest all the things that we want in this world. You can't be peaceful if you're broke, You can't really be in love with yourself if you're struggling. So, again, spiritual things and, meditation, prayer, magic, different forms of magic, different forms of herb magic will help you to do these things. There's a meditation that you could do where you literally close your eyes, put your tongue under your teeth, breathe, focus on your breathing, and your eyes will turn up and focus on this point of your head, which is your pineal gland. And what you do is you just count your breaths in and out, and you focus on that point, and eventually you get into a quick trance. So that's a quick way to start meditating. There's also candles you could use for different things, for different worries, for different troubles, because with candles, what you're doing is you're conjuring basically the 4 elements: the fire of the flame of the candle, whatever the color of the candle is, that's the earth, fire, earth. There's wax, which is water, and there's air, obviously, because the flame is dancing in the air. So you're combining all the 4 elements when you're doing candle magic, and you just carve your intention, or you could write a petition and put that outside of the candle. Now, many people who are Christian or who are part of different religious faiths will be like, oh, that's demon worship or that's devilishment. But not really. If you go into the Bible, you'll see instances where they've used things like the Unum and the Thummim, right, as a tarot device, basically, or as a divination device, where they are getting information from sources from using these type of means. You hear in the Bible where they talk about throwing lots, right? Throwing lots is basically a divination system. It says before they threw Jonah off the boat, because they was trying to figure out, basically the story of Jonah and the whale in the Bible, what they were trying to figure out was who the fuck is causing all this water? Because what happened was they were on a boat, right? Jonah was on a boat with a bunch of fishermen. He was a fisherman himself, and he was on a boat, and they were trying to figure out, and all of a sudden the water just went, once they put him on the boat, all of a sudden the water just went crazy. So they casted lots to figure out what's going on. They called on God, like, yo, why the water's going crazy? And, the lots is like, when they did the reading, and this is in the Bible, right? When they did the reading, they like, yo, it's this nigga Jonah. So this nigga Jonah, they threw him overboard. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, the story of Jonah and a whale is metaphorical, And not only is it dealing with divination to see what's troubling the waters in your life, right? Or what's troubling your personal waters, because again, we are 70% water. The planet is 70% water. We deal with brain waves. We deal with sound waves. We deal with light waves. So we deal with waves on a day-to-day basis. The light that's hitting my face right now from the sun is a wave. It's a wave. It's just a big-ass wave. The sun is just a big-ass light wave, right? That's all it is. They're all waves when you break them down to the lowest compound. When you break them down to the atomic form, you're going to get waves. You're going to get things that are in constant motion. And this is why you must be in constant motion too, with whatever you're trying to manifest. Because nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. And nothing comes to a couch potato but mold, right? So you got to grow. Every plant is going towards the light. Every plant in the universe is seeking light. So we have to, along with these tools, we have to guard ourselves, right? Because that third dimension, going back to the 3 dimensions where you have your personal insecurities, your outer security, and also the media. The media is where people go to most to escape the insecurities and the outer securities. People go to media. People watch film, and we all do it. People watch film, we listen to music, podcasts, social media, etc. But we have to realize that these things that are given to us, or these ideals, right, that are given to us, or these triggers that make us mad, we have to understand that every time we get mad and that cortisol kicks in, or that fight or flight kicks in, we are literally poisoning ourselves. It's poison. Our cortisol is poison. And you're going to get sick. In fact, the way the heart works is on the outside of the heart. This is why more people, black people, die the most, I believe. This is why black people die the most from heart disease, is because we have so much, and we are inundated with so much stress. First, you're taught in school you were a slave, right? That's your first thing. You're identifying with a person that's been beaten, whipped, and chained, right? That's your identity, that you were a slave. If that ain't some traumatic shit, I don't know what is. Then you are older, and then there's an idea of competition, right? Because there's competition in this animal world. You have to fight to survive in this animal world, or it will absorb you. You will get devoured in this world if you don't stand up for yourself. So you have this fight, but every time that you receive something negative, or you accept something negative, or you accept your trauma as your reality, then you are receiving more and more poison each day. Every time you seek pain, you are forming a habit of repetition. Every time you take in painful things, you watch the fight video, you watch the rape video, you watch the cop shooting video, you read the thing that makes you jump, or the thing that makes you scary, or the thing that's just out of this world outrageous, snuff film or whatever. And you continue taking these things in, you are forming a habit that this is what you like, and that this energy is what you want to take in. So we are electromagnetic beings. We have an electromagnetic signature. right? We are magnets. We're magnetic. Our body is electromagnetic. You can look it up. Your heart gives off an electromagnetic signal. So we are electromagnetic beings. When your heart is pumping, you actually are forming waves around your body called the torus. And the torus is that thing that you see outside of the atom. Those balls that the protons, the protons and the electrons are rolling around. So you form that same thing around yourself with the energy that you're bringing around. So you are a magnetic being. You pull things in. That's why the law of attraction is real to a degree, because you bring in what you want to manifest. And the reason I say to a degree is because a lot of people, when they think of the law of attraction, they think of just thinking and being happy, and that's it. Then they don't think about putting in the work or co-creating with the law of attraction, because the law of attraction is one of co-creation. You have to put that energy out there, and you also have to do the work. You have to move according to your intention so that you are co-creating. Once you're co-creating, that's when things manifest faster, right? But when we take on all this stress, when we take on all these trauma, when we get all these things from outside of ourselves that make us think that these things are more important than who we are, well, when that happens, we start to form attachments to things that no longer serve us. And when these things come immediately, boom, that fight and flight kicks in. These little traumatic things, even though they don't have anything to do with us personally, right? Even though this person got shot, right, by the police. I did not get shot by the police. This person in my family did not get shot by the police. It did not affect me personally. Now, while my heart feels empathy, right, it shouldn't be something where it stresses me out for the whole day. I remember when Trayvon, right, got acquitted. I remember exactly where I was. I remember I was walking, and I remember feeling the pain in my body physically from Trayvon being killed. Like, it wasn't like, it was a physical pain, you know, my physical in my chest, like I could feel it in my heart, right? And that's what happens. You know, our sympathetic nervous system runs right through our heart. You know, it's right outside of our heart. So when you're sympathetic, or where they say your heart, or the Cometians or the Egyptians said your heart should be as light as a feather, or you see that heart on that scale in Egyptian or Kemetic mythology, what they're basically going into a scientific principle of your sympathetic heart, of your sympathetic nervous system running on the outside of your heart. Your parasympathetic is on the inside of your heart. These are the streets of Brooklyn, y'all. Excuse me. But when you, so the heart, and when you're taking on all this stress and pumping all this cortisol, you're damaging your heart, right? So when you first think you're a slave, and then you're getting inundated through the media with all of these negative things, and you're not seeking positivity, you have negative friends, people who are negative, people who are always complaining, people who always feel like they're victimized by the white man or the black man or the Mexican man or the Native American, or, you know, whatever. They just feel like they're a victim of the government, or they're a victim of Trump, or they're a victim of something else. All these things bring trauma. All these things affect the heart space. All these things reduce your sensitivity, because the more pain you take in, the less sensitive you are to it, you know? If you keep watching people's heads get bust open, right? If you're, let's say you're a farmer, right? And you keep watching cows get hit in the head with hammers. Maybe when you first get to the farm, you might feel something, right, for them cows, because you have a certain level of empathy if you're that type of person who likes animals. But after a while of seeing the cow get hit with the hammer, you're not going to have that same empathy, because that cow already got fucked up. You know what I'm saying? That cow already got fucked up. So you've seen that cow get fucked up millions of times. So what happens? It becomes part of you. So when you see a cow, now you might start watching cow abuse, cow videos where you see him getting hit in the head, right? Because it's a habit. It's become one with you. And the thing about things that are traumatic is, especially if something happened to you in the past that you can associate that trauma to, you start to relive the old trauma. you start to relive the problem that you had in the past, even though this is a whole separate problem. For instance, the R. Kelly thing, right? A lot of women who were in these situations, who have been molested or who have been hurt by men, latched on to the art. You see them drop for the whole week and a half, 2 weeks. R. Kelly, R. Kelly, R. Kelly, R. Kelly, R. Kelly, every day. There's trauma within you if you're doing this every day, because that means if you're posting about it every day, you're thinking about it every day. So there's something in you that you must heal. And how do you reprogram trauma? You have to reprogram trauma by realizing that the world of duality is fake. Meaning that you could change who you are and you could change how you view something anytime you decide to. You could change who you are and you could change how you feel about something anytime you decide to, because it is a choice what energy you give it. Even though it was a traumatic situation, you could still change how you feel about it. You could still find a way so that this doesn't trigger you as much. Of course, if you had a traumatic situation and something reminds you of it, you're going to feel it. But it shouldn't be something that you're typing 6-7 days about. It shouldn't be something that bothers you so much that most of your time or your train of thought is thinking about it. Because if you're thinking about that, how can you receive messages? How can you hear the voice of God in your own head? How can you hear that voice that's talking to you that has some good advice? Right? And people will say, well, how do you know the voice in your head is telling you the right thing? I'd say follow your gut, right? Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. And if you hear a voice in your head tell you to do something and you listen, and then when you hear that, feel the energy in your stomach. People say that, listen to your gut. Your gut always knows, and this is true because the serotonin receptors in your gut or in your stomach. So that's one of your receptive places. But we have to stop being triggered by everything, man. We got to stop falling a victim to these programs, because this is the Matrix just programming us to be triggered by everything, just programming us to be upset about everything. And we cannot produce properly, especially when IQ drops close to 40% when we are stressed. We can't produce properly. We can't bring things into the world that we want to bring things into the world if we're always stressed out, if we're always worried about what happened, if we're always thinking about this trauma and taking it on as our own. We have to come to a place where this trauma is no longer our own. This trauma is just something that happened and it didn't affect us, so that our minds could stay focused on the dream that we have to getting rich as Jeff Bezos, or the dream that we have to get the love of our life, or the dream that we have to be at one with spirit, so we can help other people in our family, so that we can help our friends, so that we can help people in our immediate circle. You know, I don't want to save the world. I'm not here to save all black people. I'm not here to save all white people. I'm not here to save anybody. I'm here to save myself. And as saving myself and the tools that I use to save myself, I share. But it's a selfish act, because if I'm not selfish with getting this godhood, then I am not only doing myself